Hello everybody, welcome into the latest live stream. Let me just do a sound check. Let's make sure everybody can hear me okay. I can't see my audio. There it is. All right, so getting some confirmation, thank you very much. This is the final piece of the video that was started with Bryce building it, if you recall, a few weeks ago. And we ran into a few little issues, primarily with the cooler. And what's frustrating for me is we're this close. And by the way, if you go on PC Part Picker, it'll tell you all this fits. This is just something that sometimes you run into some obstacles based on the configuration that you've selected that no website is going to be able to predict. You have to talk to people who actually have personal experience. Once again, personal experience always trumps anything you see or read from any source. But that being said, went ahead and got the X52. Now this is the second time I've had to do this for a client where the X62 is just too large. You really need a large case. You know, the BitPhoenix Shogun case is a good case for this. The 760T from Corsair is a good case for this. But that said, we had it fitting, albeit very tightly, until I went out and changed the fans out to Noctuas. That led to a new problem where the new Noctua fans were these industrial fans that were very, 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 very loud and annoying and expensive, about $30 a fan. So those got sent back. The proper Noctua fans were ordered. I know some people don't like that the fans don't match. I don't know why Noctua does this other than for brand recognition. When people see this weird color combo, they know it's Noctua, and that, I think, is the whole point of it. They can be painted if it really mattered to somebody, but these fans are really just over-engineered. I called them German before, they're Austrian. I was corrected on that, and thank you for the correction. They're overkill. They'll last probably forever. For some people, that's really important. My customer, his name's Bob, and he's been very patient in waiting for these little issues to be resolved. The Kraken arrived 3 days after I ordered it, which is the case for most things I get from Newegg. But the replacement fans, because the whole point of this was to go to the Noctua fans, but we go from a 140 millimeter fan to a 120 millimeter fan. So I had to order different Noctua fans. These took over a week for some reason, I don't know why. So that held up the build. So I have already replaced the two 140s here. And you'll see you're basically looking at 14 centimeters versus 12 centimeters. You'll see it's a much smaller fan. The Kraken X62 is, because of a larger radiator, it takes two of the larger fans. So this is the regular Noctua fan that everybody knows and loves. And you'll see it's significantly smaller though. This is a 120 and this is a 140. So you can see there the difference. It's pretty significant. And this would be too small to fit on the X62. And this will be too large to fit on the X52. So we're doing the two 140s up in the front, and the two 120s will replace the stock fans. When it comes to cooling, you have three choices to consider on your cooling. Stock OEM fan on a non-K or non-X processor, which is great if you're on a budget. It does the job if you're not going to overclock. On the Core i7 series, they can get a bit loud. Core i5, Core i3, anything like that, it's fine, it's quiet, it'll last a long, long time, statistically speaking. Then you have an air tower cooler. That would be like your Evo 212s. You know, you've got the big heat sink and a fan usually blowing sideways instead of sitting on top, blowing air down on top of the CPU. They're blowing air sideways. Those are a good value. You can overclock with those, and you don't have to worry about water pump breaking. They're generally really, really quiet. And of course, you can always upgrade the fans on them. So if you were to get, for example, the Evo 212, which you've seen me use a number of times in builds, that's this, by the way, if you're wondering what I'm talking about. This is a tower cooler. This was what was on the streaming rig. This is the Evo 212. We could change that fan out for an actual fan just to quiet it down a little bit, but it's pretty well silent. The Noctua fan, I think, gives you more life, although that's the original fan and it's really not a problem. Your third option then is liquid cooling, all-in-one cooling solutions, or do it yourself. You're going to spend big bucks on that. Your pump will die one day, as you witnessed on the Cosmos 2 follow-up repair that happened about 4 or 5 years after the build was done. And one second, I think something's happening. Let me go check that out. I'll be right back. Nope, false alert. So anyway, so when you get to your all-in-one coolers, you can expect to pay, you know, the X62 is a $260 cooler. You're able to overclock, but you generally do get quite a bit of noise because the stock fans that come with these coolers, even the expensive all-in-one coolers, if quiet is important, getting a liquid cooler isn't enough. You've got to change the fans to something like what I'm doing today to quiet those things down. Now, the most modern, latest liquid coolers are coming with better quality fans, but I will say, again, nothing really compares on the level of Noctua. It is over-engineered, overkill, and will last a very long time. We do have an issue with dust in here in the desert, and it can get into the bearings of fans. Corsair has come out with these magnetic levitation fans where there is no bearing. It's just riding magnetically. They tend to be very, very loud, but there's a fan that'll just run forever. Controlling the speeds is much more difficult, but I expect to see some improvements as the years go on with that technology and just get rid of the bearings altogether. Generally, that's where your issue is. Anytime you have a moving part, it's the moving part that fails. It's the bearing. It's something related to what's allowing that part to move that seizes, or over time, it can get noisy as dust and grime build up in the bearings. So again, you've got your stock cooler, cheap, does the job, no overclocking, can be a bit loud. You've got your tower cooler, that's anywhere from, generally speaking, $30 on up to about $100. Those do a really good job. Noctua makes those. The Cooler Master the Cooler Master Evo 212 is really, I think, the best bang for the buck right now. There's a few others. Cryo Rig makes one. Arctic Freeze, I think, makes one. Be Quiet makes one. I don't have any experience with these other units, so I can't really recommend them, but they're there for you to investigate and see if it's something that interests you. And then of course, liquid cooling. And liquid cooling, again, mostly for overclocking. If you're not going to overclock, you're wasting your money on a liquid cooler. You will eventually have to replace it because your pump will die. No issue with leaks on these all-in-ones. They're just sealed. I've never seen one leak ever. If you want to build your own liquid cooler, you can do it yourself and bend the pipes and go with soft pipes or hard pipes. Choose what color fluid you want, make your pipes see-through, have a place for a reservoir. You'll easily spend around $800 to do that, and it will require maintenance. You will be required to drain it about once a year, flush it out, get all the bacteria and algae buildup out of it, and then replace that fluid. And every time you do that, you're opening up an opportunity for leaks. Anybody who makes videos showing that, they always leak, always, especially when they're filling it, or they're hooking the tubes up for the first time, or they're priming the pump. That's not necessarily devastating. You've got to know how to handle the leaks, usually getting something that separates the water out, like something like pure alcohol, as close as you can get to pure alcohol to sort of absorb that water. You sort of have to become a plumber. For some people, that's really important. We talked a little bit about overclocking. I don't support overclocking. I'll build a machine that can be overclocked, and the customer can take that risk as much as they want. I just don't want customers calling me to help fix computer issues that they created by doing something that was unnecessary. And just to give you an idea of when you're in the business a long time. So when I started, I brought out a motherboard the other day that was a Pentium 90. Can you imagine if we just went back in time? Let's just pretend the Pentium 90 has come out, and I have spent $200-300 to overclock that bad boy. Let's call it 150 megahertz. So from 90 megahertz, not gigahertz, 90 megahertz to 150 megahertz. And I'm telling you how wonderful it is that I've overclocked it and it's stable, and I've lapped the CPU, and I've got this expensive cooler on there. Now look at today. Today you can spend less money, get a processor that's much, much faster, not only in frequency, but in caching, in the logical steps that it has available, the number of lanes, the front side bus, the speed of the memory. It's not even comparable by any stretch of the means, and it costs less money. So when you overclock, you're just spending a lot of time and effort for a little window of opportunity where you're going to be a little faster. Within 18 to 24 months, there'll be another chip out that'll be faster than yours, further than you could ever overclock, because of caching and because of multiple cores and other enhancements and improvements. It made all of that complete waste of your time. So if you want to do that, just understand you're just buying about 18 to 24 months worth of performance. And when you look back on it, especially when I use this extreme example of overclocking a Pentium 90, when the average CPU sold today runs in the mid 3 gigahertz range, just stock, even if it's the cheapest CPU you can buy today, brand new in the box, that's being supported by manufacturers, it'll blow out of the water for a fraction of the cost what you did all those years ago to try and get that extra little bit of megahertz. And for some people it's worth it, but for other people I just want you to understand it's always temporary. And it's my opinion that the user is the part that needs to be overclocked. For the most part, these systems are so fast today, the slow part is you. But some people enjoy it as a hobby, and they'll be like any other hobby, they very rarely make financial sense. But I don't want to conflate or confuse the issue of necessity versus, I don't even know what you'd call it, versus a very specific hobby. And you know, some people feel like they're getting something for nothing by getting a few extra megahertz, but the fact is it's not for nothing. There's an investment, and then there's an inherent risk with regards to damage, longevity, reliability. And even when it's rock solid, you never really know it's rock solid. I mean, you know, it could crash at any time. Just because it hasn't crashed yet does not mean your system's rock solid. So I prefer to run everything the way the engineers intended it to be run. And if people want to go a little faster, you know, the K CPUs from Intel, they're all 10% faster than the non-K version. So just buying the CPU that's overclockable doesn't mean you have to overclock it to see the advantage. Just out of the box, it's 10% faster. So anyway, let me move on with other things. Today, I'm going to go ahead and pull this X62, put the Noctuas on the X52, and then cable it up, fire it up one more time. I've got all the software done. Windows is activated. Got a Malwarebytes license on there. I've got TeamViewer for remote access in case he needs it. I've got the drivers for the graphics card. All the Windows updates are in there. The Samsung Magician software is on there. The Samsung NVMe driver is on there. There's a few utilities from the software for the motherboard that I've thrown on there. It's software-wise should be ready to rock and roll, and I always save the cable management for last. So Bob, the gentleman who owns this PC, he saw that I have this assortment of screwdrivers and tools. And I don't know why, but he thought it'd be a good idea to send me another screwdriver to evaluate. I've been very happy with the screwdriver I have. But yeah, I don't know. He says, here, you can review this on your next video. So I'm going to finish Bob's build with the screwdriver that he sent. This is from Amazon. It's about $40. It's a ratcheting driver. If you just twist this, you can twist it the other way, or you can lock it in the middle. But I can tell you right now from looking at it, this is a cheap Snap-on Tools ripoff. Not ripoff, knockoff, sorry. One of the issues is you see this gap right here? That's where all your gears are. So that's gonna get exposed to dust and elements, which is not a good design. I've also read the reviews. Some people have dropped the screwdriver and it completely busted in half. So the manufacturing quality compared to a Snap-on isn't there. A Snap-on screwdriver, I bought this one, I take this back, my sister bought this as a birthday present for me because I was reading an article in Maximum PC magazine and they just raved about how great the screwdriver was. I saw the screwdriver was $80, and I said, there's no way I'm buying that. And my sister said, I'm going to get it for you for your birthday. But I got it, I used it once, and I hate it. The reason I hate it is it's too big for PC work. The important part of the driver is this part. This has to be a minimum of 4 inches long and preferably 5 or 6. You can make up with a couple inches with an extension bit. Some bits can be purchased, 1-inch bits and 2-inch bits. But the handle is way too freaking big, way too big. The screwdriver is way too expensive. And you'll see it's very similar in design and shape. But you can also hear this has a lot more teeth on the gear. You can hear it. You can actually hear that this has fewer teeth on the gear. I've also heard from reviews that when you tighten down things with this, it can slip, where the teeth in the gears aren't deep enough. But for PC work, it'll work just fine. I think it's too much money. I think for $40, you could get the screwdriver, the yellow-handled screwdriver that I use for $7. You can buy the bits you need because it doesn't come with any bits. This one does come with bits, so you do get that added benefit of it. There's a total of 5 bits inside. The only one you really need when building a PC is a number 2 Phillips. And it should say right on the side, it'll say usually PH2 or something like that along the focus. Come on. It's upside down. Okay. On one of these sides. No, it's the other way. Anyway, so the number 2 Phillips is really all you need. You can buy them at the hardware store. You can buy them online. There's a Torx bit in here. This is a Torx it's like T15. There's a flat blade, 2 flat blades, and then a number 1 Phillips, which is the sharper, pointier Phillips. But primarily to build a computer, you generally need a number 1 Phillips and number 2 Phillips, and if you're going to deal with standoffs, you need a 5mm socket. Beyond that, you shouldn't ever need a flat blade, and you really don't need a ratcheting screwdriver either. If you were doing any sort of construction work, this screwdriver wouldn't last you the day. For building a PC, it's adequate. It's, if anything, maybe a bit overkill, and that overkill would be worthwhile if it was built a little better. So I'd say if you really want that, get the real snap-on tool and you'll have a tool for life. You get this one, you have it for a little while. So anyway, thank you, Bob, for sending it to me. I'm going to finish your build with this screwdriver, and we'll see how well it works. I like to go to Harbor Freight Tools, and I pick up their security bit set. It's about 10 bucks, and it's an orange plastic container, and it has Torx and Allen heads and really funky, weird security bits. And that's really useful if you want to start taking apart hard drives or opening up some Dells and HPs, compacts, things like that. They don't make compacts anymore because HP bought them, but if you have older systems come in, I always find myself going back to that security bit set for those proprietary systems. All right, let's get some work done. Little tiny bit of congestion still in me, but otherwise I'm doing well, so. Oh, an update on the Threadripper. Okay, all the parts are ordered. I had initially ordered the Noctua tower cooler, even though it's ugly, and I really want this to be a showpiece. And several viewers have said you really need to get the Enermax 360 all-in-one liquid cooler. So I said, all right, and I canceled the order on the Noctua air cooler and I ordered the Enermax. Even though I've got really bad experience with Enermax, I'm gonna give them a shot. Again, I have to emphasize, I'm willing to use things I wouldn't normally use on a build because this is just building for fun. I don't have any accountability or liability towards it. So this must be what it feels like to have a tech enthusiast channel that are so popular here on YouTube, where you can just build stuff and it doesn't matter if it works well or has problems, because the only person it affects is the one who builds it. So I got the Gigabyte board and the RAM that we previously discussed, the Threadripper 1950, the Enermax 360 cooler, The Volta, whatever the high-end Volta GPU is, I was thinking, why not throw a Titan in there? But the Titan's $1,200, and the donations, well, they've come in to cover this build. They haven't come in like that. So there's no sense turning it into a $5,000 computer other than, you know, again, it's a showpiece. So I would, if the money was there, I'd waste it on that. But anyway, we'll go with Volta. You've never seen me build with a Volta GPU before. Keep it all AMD. Obviously, there's no front I/O, so there's no DVD drive, there's no card reader. There'll be some RGB lighting, which I normally don't do. Again, all the reasons I normally do things have to do with longevity and being professional and being accountable. So because this is all for fun, ideally everything will come in a week from now. So Monday, April 30th, if all goes well, I'm thinking I'll go outside. I want to press this Magewell card to its max. I'm going to load up all 4 cameras. I had to order 2 more $100 tripods. So those are coming in. So all my tripods and all my cameras should be set up and all plugged in. And my goal is to take it outside. I'll wheel this big screen outside so I can see what's going on and run all these cables through the house out to the backyard. The only concern I have is today it's 97 degrees Fahrenheit right now. So I might change my mind at the last minute. It's the idea that I can just switch amongst all the inputs. I won't need a cameraman. And then I'm thinking when I go to fire the machine up, I'll be in the sun and I won't be able to see a screen. So I think I'm going to use your monitors as my screen. I think I'm going to feed the video output of the new rig on the first fire up. I'll disconnect the close-up camera, run the HDMI cable right into the back of the computer, and use your monitors at home for my monitor on my test boot. And I'll just be able to see the feed on the big screen, which will be in the shade off camera. What do you think of that idea? Pretty cool, right? So I'm looking forward to the build. It should be a lot of fun. And if all the parts come in on time, which should be throughout this week, I should start getting parts. Ideally, Monday will be the live stream for that amazing build that you guys have made possible. And for all the generous donations and contributions that have made the build possible, you guys have made me so happy. I don't even know how to explain it. I'm very fortunate to have viewers that are so supportive, and I'm just really, really happy about it. And I'm looking forward to the build. It doesn't feel like work because it doesn't have any purpose that it's serving other than just to do it. That's weird for me. I haven't built something for that reason, and just to do it for fun. It's been more than 20 years. So what a wonderful gift that you guys are allowing me that feeling of, isn't this going to be fun? And then I get to share that with everybody. And I hope that it's contagious. And I hope that if you haven't built a system, that it inspires you to do so once you see what's possible. Even if you can't go to that extreme, it's still really, really enjoyable to build your own machine. When you are, again, when you're building it for other people and you're being held accountable to it, it does sort of impact just how fun it is. You know, things get serious. So this one's just for fun. All right. For everybody that's our admins keeping everything civil in the chat room, thank you guys as always. I see Francisco Albano says hello from Portugal. Carrie say Malakoi. Malakoi? Isn't that a guy in the Avengers? Thor? Andy wants to know when more case badges are going to come in. So I have an engraver that I use, and he's got other things going on right now. When things settle down for him, we'll get some more case badges. I guess maybe a month or 2, maybe 3. So stay tuned. I'll let you know when more become available. And thank you for asking, and I appreciate that. Christoph Ash, he's a contributor for the Threadripper build, says hello from Germany. Hi, Christoph. Why is Christoph not an admin? We got to fix that right now. By the way, when you're an admin, you don't have to do anything. But what it does for me is it lets me recognize you as a contributor and as a supportive viewer. My goal is to get more admins than non-admins in the chat room. So everybody who has proven themselves, people that are regular contributors, I start recognizing names. And I don't mean contributors strictly financially. I mean contributors in that they're participating in the chat. They're not exhibiting troll behavior. Because there's so many of you, it's easy to see names and not recognize them. So as I start to recognize regular viewers, I'm going to start turning you guys into moderators. And if I feel that you're being abusive with your moderator status, that every little tiny thing you're sort of nitpicking, I'm going to remove your moderator status. On the other hand, when you do see somebody misbehaving, please put them in a timeout, but don't be so quick with the delete button. You know, I've had a couple go a little over the top, so in those cases I've removed those moderator statuses because they're just not ready yet to be a moderator. So again, you can be a moderator and not do anything at all. You're under no obligation, but it's mostly, again, for me, so I can recognize my regular viewers who I may not otherwise recognize. So, all right, I think we're caught up here with all the news. Let me take just a quick glance through here. Norman says hello from Canada. See, Austin's joined us. Hey, Austin. Always good to see Austin. Okay, I think I can get started working. So these little screws, these went into the into these ports. I don't know if you're going to be able to see what the issue is here, but we've got a very tight gap, and it's right up here. And the fan blades on these Noctua coolers are actually hitting the USB cables that feed the card reader. Moving these around would make the situation even worse. If this customer did not have a card reader, this wouldn't be an issue. If I had suggested a different case, this customer wouldn't have this problem. If this customer went with an air cooler, we wouldn't have this problem. If this customer went with a case that didn't have any front I/O on it, it would have been fine. There's all these different ways this could have worked out just fine. And it almost worked out. It was so close. We're literally about 1 millimeter to 2 millimeters too close. If the case was just that little tiny bit taller, but it is what it is, and lessons learned, and I'm gonna be sitting on an X62 with 2 Noctuas on it to use in some future build. You know, the difference, again, when you're doing it for a living, these aren't devastating mistakes because I will eventually reuse these parts, or someone may contact me and may want to buy it at a discount and I'll sell it. But, you know, you're looking at a $260 cooler with 2 $30 fans or $25 fans. So that's $300 on a cooler that's just going to sit. I'm not worried about it because they don't really depreciate in value. Some parts do. Cases, power supplies, coolers, they're selling for the same price now as they did 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. When we talk about motherboards, CPUs, and RAM, different story. Graphics cards, different story. You don't want to have those in inventory because they will rapidly drop in value. And just to break even, your customer's going to think you're ripping them off because they can go buy it at Fry's for less money than you paid for it 6 months earlier. But these aren't generally the types of things that you have to hold on to because you made a mistake. I mean, fitting the CPU to the motherboard and the socket type and picking the RAM really shouldn't be any issue at all. It's just about the fitment when we get to the cooler that gets to be a little bit of an issue. Again, cases, power supplies, and coolers, stock those all day long. You'll be able to sell them as a business, you'll be able to sell them at your normal profit margin, regardless of how long you hold on to them. So that's sort of the business side of it to consider if you're thinking about doing it for a living. All the information about this PC, all the specifications are in the video description below the video. Please read the video descriptions of my videos. I spend hours writing them, hours and hours put into creating the links, researching the parts, assembling it in a logical order, making sure the links work. So that information's there just so you don't have to ask. All right, so let's go ahead and get this thing out of here. I think this USB cable that talks to the NZXT is the same cable, so I think we'll just keep the cable there. And we've got to disconnect the fans. Oh, I never plugged them in. Okay, so the fans are already disconnected. And if anything, I can, that's all right. I can leave the extensions on or take the extensions off. Let's go ahead and take the, well, I guess we could take the radiator out first. See, the ratcheting doesn't really help you much on a PC because the screws don't have a lot of resistance. When you turn the screwdriver the other way without holding it, it just tightens the screw back up. So you've got to hold the driver to ratchet it. And if you're going to do that, you might as well just spin the whole screwdriver. I mean, that's typically what I do. That's why you don't see me using a ratcheting screwdriver. It's also a bit heavy, but I might be more sensitive to that than others. Once you get used to something and you use it for 20 years and you go to something else, you can get real sensitive about how it feels. This is very hard. It's not soft, which bothers me. And the weight of it, this thing weighs probably 1.5 pounds, which is too heavy for a screwdriver. Should be 10 ounces. Or less. Okay. 6 ounces or less. Should be very lightweight. All right, and this is a little tricky to get out of here. So we're gonna sort of lift up, pull back. I know it comes out. I say it's a very tight fit. I think I'm gonna have to take this card reader out just to be safe and to make my life a little easier. That's why I left the screws out. That should be all I need. And this should just come right out. Well, looks like the DVD drive's getting in the way too, so let's slide that forward. That helped. Looks like my extension came off, which is fine. There it is. There we go. And then we just have to remove the water block here. Now, before I remove that last thumb screw, I want to make sure I have these cable's disconnected. Actually, I suppose I can just disconnect it from the block. Make my life easier. Just push that out the back. There we go. Okay. Now the block is going to fall if I don't hold on to it when I remove the last screw, so I got to give it some support. Usually when you do this, you'll have your computer laying flat. Doesn't make for a good video if I do that though, so you'll do it a little bit differently than me when you do it for yourself. And there's our X62. I'm going to clean that thermal compound off of there. I just need to wipe it down. I don't actually need to, you know, clean it with rubbing alcohol or anything until I go to reuse it. That's when I'll make sure I get it all nice and clean. So we're going to clean it off of the CPU. Again, we're just going to get the bulk of it off of there for right now. There we go. And then the same thing here. It should just wipe right off. If you get this stuff on your skin, it's hard to get washed off. That's it. So this can go over here for now. And you'll see that in a future project at some point. That much I can pretty much assure you. Okay. And now we can get ready for the new one. Looks like I'm having a little bit of a buffering issue here. We're back up and running, and that's all that matters. Now, where was I? We're going to pull the Kraken out of its box and release the Kraken. There's many young people watching who say, I don't understand why you say it like that. There's a movie called Clash of the Titans. It was in the 80s. They remade it about 10 years ago. So it's a cultural reference to a cult-like movie. I don't know if it ever was ever really a cult movie, but... All right. Pretty sure I don't need these anymore. If I'm not an expert with these by now, there's no hope for me. Okay, here we go again. We're going to save these fans. We're not going to use these. So let's just put these over here for now. There's our cables. I wonder if this will use the same cables. It just might. If it does, I'll save those and put them with the other. And of course, also the mounting kit and everything else, which again should be exactly identical to what we already have. So if I keep all that together, then that'll keep everything for the X62 ready to rock, except for the, of course, those fans aren't going to be used because they're too small, and we've already got Noctua fans on the X62 anyway. I missed a couple contributions. Let me give some recognition to folks who have contributed most recently here. Sterling3371's contributed $2. He says, looking good today. Sterling3371 is a contributor to the Threadripper build. Always good to see the regular viewers and contributors. John Yasuda contributed $20 and says, love the build videos. Really excited to see your reaction once the Threadripper is up and running. I saw a review on so I ordered the case and I thought, you know, maybe I should watch a review of this case. Should have did that the other way around. This case makes me feel like I'm working on technology from 20 years ago. The NZXT cases, I traditionally haven't liked them, specifically those Phantom cases, because the top of them kind of come to a point and you can't put anything on top of the computer. I built one for Mike Smith. Well, Mike paid me for it, but sent that over to him. That's what he uses to do his podcasts with. And he ended up pulling the top off and just leaving it raw on top so he could put stuff on top of the tower. I don't blame him. He found it just as annoying as I have, and I've been sort of turned off with NZXT ever since. That seems to have been their sort of, their look, if you will. But this H700i, I think is what it's called, it looks amazing. You want to talk about cable management? How do I do cable management? Buy yourself an NZXT H700i, and you don't have to learn any cable management. They've already got it all planned out for you. And if you're one of those people that's like, I don't want it all planned out for me, then you can take a screwdriver and remove all the little plastic channels that are there for your cable management and do it yourself. I mean, it's like, wow, I feel like, it makes me feel like these Corsair 200Rs are obsolete and outdated and very, very basic, as happy as I've been with them, and they're perfect for a business environment. The H700i, it seems so far superior in every way, from the way that the little 2.5-inch trays for the SSDs can be moved around sideways, diagonally, through these little holes, anywhere you want them. You can shift the whole hard drive tray across a channel left and right, so in case you have a really big power supply, you can shift that to the right. Or if you have a big radiator, you can shift it to the left. Or maybe you've got a big power supply and a big radiator and you can kind of shift it in the middle. Or maybe you don't even have a 3.5-inch drive and you just yank the thing all together. This case is blowing my mind. I'm so glad I saw the review. I'm really looking forward to this because it makes me feel like I'm building something futuristic and doing it this way, so doing it the hard way. It's also an expensive case, and I just realized it has tempered glass, which I wanted to avoid because of the weight. I'm gonna have to be moving this thing around a lot. The LED strips, one LED strip is already mounted across the top, and the second one is magnetic, and you can add it optionally along the fronts of the case. I'm gonna get more into this when I do the build, hopefully next Monday, but if you can't tell, I'm really excited about it. And this case is blowing my mind with just how customizable it is and how easy they made everything. And I'm really, really impressed with all the cable management channels, because this makes anybody a cable management expert by just following whatever channel is nearest to your cable. That's all you have to do, regardless of what parts you put in there. That's the only time I could ever show you how to do cable management where you could follow along. It's just like, okay, you see these channels? Use them. So, you know, it's an expensive case. I can buy 3 or 4 Corsair 200Rs for what this one NZXT case costs. But you'll look at all 4 of those Corsair 200Is and not even pay attention to them, which is good in a business. If this one is amongst other cases, it'll draw your eye to it because it really stands out as a unusual, attractive, and with the RGB lighting and stuff, it'll definitely draw the eye. And that's what I was really wanting to do with this build, is do something to show off. I expect to have it in the background quite a bit and probably even power it on so the LEDs will be shifting around. Keith Butler says, have a Coke on me. All right, Keith, I will. Keith's another contributor to the channel. Why is he not a moderator? You're a moderator now, Keith. Lance Ripplinger, I see his name a lot in the chat, so you're a moderator. I feel like Oprah. You're a moderator. You get a car. You don't get a car. YouTube put a message on my TV saying it was their fault. That's from Colin Hilton. I know it was their fault, but it doesn't matter. Malcolm Maxwell. I keep seeing Malcolm in the chat. He's a moderator. James Baker says, what about me? I don't really recognize your name, James, but there you go. please do not abuse your moderator status. If somebody wants to promote something like their channel, please remove their message and put them in timeout. If somebody does any kind of advertising, I want the link removed and I want them timed out. If anybody swears or if anybody's being rude, remove the message, put them in a time. Actually, just putting them in a timeout will automatically remove their message. If they do it again, that's when it's time to start removing them. But and if anybody's a little too aggressive with the timeout button, I'm going to have to remove your moderator status because I don't want to lose subscribers over a little tiff, a personal tiff between you and somebody else. Look out for me, please. Okay, and otherwise, again, as a moderator, you don't have to do anything at all. You're under no obligation. It just is a way for me to identify my regular viewers and people that support me. So just because you're not a moderator yet doesn't mean you won't be. It just means at this point right now, I'm not recognizing your name as a regular contributor or as somebody who has contributed financially to the channel, because that'll get you moderator status real quick, because I know if you're contributing financially, you're definitely not a troll. You're definitely probably never going to be a troll. So I don't have any other way of, oh, there's Irving. Irving should be a moderator. I have no other way really of differentiating, even though I'm sure, oh, Patrick, yeah, I recognize Patrick. Sometimes you guys have to tell, whoops, I think I just put it on the wrong. Actually, Pat is Johnston is a contributor too, I believe. All right, Patrick, you should be a moderator now. Anders Jorgensen, yep, you should be a moderator. Sharon Idles, definitely moderator. Sharon's a musician, and she sent me one of her tracks to play. I should have did that during the intermission. I don't have it queued up yet, but she sent me one of her tracks to play. Hopefully, we won't have any copyright issues with YouTube on that. Michael Blairum says, Carrie, I have the NZXT S340 in white, and that is a nice case to build in. It would be good to get rid of some of those X62s. I only have 2 X62s. One of them was used in the Cosmos 2, one of my spare X62s, when his pump broke. So we replaced it with the X62, and of course it fits easily in the Cosmos 2 case. No problem at all. All right, if there are any other contributors that I have missed, Winston should be a moderator. If you have contributed and I have not made you a moderator, please speak up now during this live broadcast. I have to do it while I'm live, so to tell me in the comments after the fact isn't going to be very beneficial. What's the price in total? It depends where you live and where you buy your parts. Prices are always fluctuating and always changing, so I avoid, generally speaking, putting any pricing down, because this video will be up 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and people will say, what was the price? What's the price? And the price will be completely different. In fact, the price will be different in a month. So these videos are up. You got to keep in mind, these videos are going to be up for many, many years, and when you start isolating certain specific things at the moment in time, it confuses a lot of viewers. I've had viewers go, where did you get the DDR3 RAM? They don't realize they're watching a video, from 4 years ago. And of course, where you live has a big influence on the price. Where you buy from has a big influence on the price. But generally, all right, Hellgas Trooper, I'll put you back as moderator, but you need to take it a little easy. Oh, Patrick Russell should definitely be a moderator. When is the spring Windows 10 Creators Update coming out? As soon as Microsoft fixes the bug that's preventing it from coming out and have tested it, you can be on the beta and have it now if you want a beta operating system. Microsoft will release it as soon as Microsoft wants it out last week, of course, but they also don't need a marketing nightmare on their hands. So they're addressing the bug, making sure that the fix for the bug doesn't have any unintended consequences, and once they're satisfied with that, they will release it immediately. So you'd have to be in Microsoft to know that information. I'm curious if this build is for a client. Yes, this build is going to Mr. Bob Thomas. Bob is also supporting the Threadripper build. He sent me the screwdriver to review, and he's patiently waiting for his system to be built. The Threadripper build is not for a client. The Threadripper build is just for the channel, just for the fun of, to bring back the joy of building. Like I said, I do enjoy building, but when you're held accountable and responsible for that machine, for the entire lifespan of that machine, it takes a certain amount of fun. It's still fun to build, but there's a serious consequence to once the build is done, it's never really done. Try and nail everything right the first time and give it to the client, and hopefully the client makes all the right decisions and isn't clicking on every link they get. Hopefully the parts are all good, that you don't have a part that, you know, I had one system I delivered and 2 weeks later it was an EVGA power supply, a cheap one, like the 430 watt, it died within the first 10 days the customer had the system. That's very embarrassing for me. I have to drive to the clients, bring a spare power supply, swap it out, redo the cable management, and apologize up, down, and left and right. And I replaced it at that time, I believe, with an old, not an old, it was a new, it was another new EVGA, I think. And it's, the customer's had it now, I think, 3 or 4 years, so it's fine. But those things happen. When you have a build that you're doing for yourself, and these things happen, it's not a big deal. But when it happens to a customer, and that customer is running a business and their business is down, it's stressful, and it could cost you that customer's future business. Someone's saying that they've got another account. May have seemed like I was trolling. I apologize. Trying to remove people from the block list is very difficult because they're not, the names aren't in any particular order. The names are in order of how they were added. So if you have a secondary account, just use the secondary account. What's the big deal? Otherwise, you'll have to send me a private message and I can take the time to go through and sift through that big list. When is end of support for Windows 7? January, I believe January 14th of 2020. That's been that way. That date has been set in stone for a number of years. If you actually type in into Google, Windows end of life, you'll pull up the calendar for the current operating systems. They have the mainstream support ending first and then extended support. We're in extended support now for Windows 7, which means it still gets Windows updates. That extended support ends January, I want to say January 14th, but it's January of 2020 regardless of the specific day. And I don't expect Microsoft to extend that date at all. They could, I don't expect it. So you've got some time still with Windows 7. So it says they're grabbing a big Windows 10 update right now. I can check to see on the streaming machine if there's a Windows update right now. Let's see. Let's check for updates. There's a cumulative update for Windows 10 1709, which is KB 4093105. That's a small update. And there's a definition update for Windows Defender. That's all I see available to me right now. Hopefully that's not impacting my stream. The Ryzen should be able to do both at the same time without a problem. And the download shouldn't interfere with the upload, but I could be wrong. All right, let's get the CPU cleaned off before we put our new water cooler in. And what I'm gonna use is, you want something that's as pure alcohol as possible. I've been using stuff like this, this pure alcohol. Well, it's close to pure alcohol. for cleaning video cassette heads and tape deck heads, because when you're running tape through the mechanism, the material on the tape rubs off onto the head and it affects your audio quality. On a VHS player or a beta player, you have to clean the heads on it. They're very easily scratched. And again, the tape on that technology rubs up against the head and it transfers the material and it starts to make your videos look really terrible. So it's interesting to me that we're still using the same tools to clean, though for a different purpose. But it's handy because I've always had this stuff. Now you can use rubbing alcohol. This is denatured alcohol. It's 190 proof. It's really close to being pure alcohol. I think denatured means they put a chemical in it so that if you ingest it, you'll get really, really sick. I think that's all that's for. There are some folks that apparently are so desperate they'll drink it. It's just nasty. You can use rubbing alcohol. Usually, like if you go to Walmart or one of the grocery stores, there'll be an alcohol content, the strength of alcohol. You want the strongest one you can buy. Anything will work with regards, the weaker one will work if that's all they have in stock. It's in your benefit to get the strongest one possible. I had to get this at a pharmacy. They actually didn't sell this on the shelf, but nowadays you just go on Amazon and you can buy it as well. Although shipping liquids can get a little bit iffy depending on the type of postal service you have. I've had some customers that it was pretty clear the box was drop kicked to the front door. But if they're doing their job right, you can order this on Amazon, or you can go to you can ask a pharmacist if they have denatured alcohol, or you can just get the strongest rubbing alcohol that they have available. And then what I do is grab a Q-tip and dip it in here. And this stuff, you don't want to leave the top open on it, because this will evaporate right out of the bottle after a couple days. That bottle will just be empty. So we don't have to worry about getting anything wet with this, because this is all going to dry almost instantly after we put it on. It'll stay on there just for a few seconds and you'll see it start to evaporate off. And that's exactly what we want. And the purer the alcohol is, the better it's going to evaporate and take all that remainder off. So it looks pretty clean, but you can see the ends of the Q-tips there. It's taken quite a bit off. Now, you don't have to be really super thorough. You want it to be as clean as you can reasonably get it, but you may find that you can just keep doing this over and over and over again and still pull up a little bit of dirt on the Q-tip. Make sure you get the edges too, because if you have a lot of buildup on the edges, that means your heat spreader isn't going to be able to dissipate the heat in that spot as good as it possibly could. And this is more critical for overclocking than just for running normal. So we just want that as close to contamination free. We want to get all the previous thermal material off. We want to make sure there's no oils from the skin on there, no dust. And you'll see I am drying it with the other side of the Q-tip. I wet one side and then I wipe it dry with the other. And you'll see a little bit of dirt still came off, and it'll just keep doing that. You'll just get little tiny bits. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, if you're overclocking, different story, but that's what you enter into when you overclock. You start getting into this little minutia that doesn't affect anybody else but you, because you decided to go down that road. But that comes with the territory. Let me make sure my standoffs are still tight. They are. And let's get the radiator out of here. Nothing else in the box. We're clear. Some people are talking about using things like vodka or Everclear or something like that. In a pinch, you could use that. If it was all you had, it would be better than trying to use Windex or some other type of cleaner, but it's not ideal. You also don't have to go and buy thermal compound remover. Companies like Arctic Silver sell that for a little tiny bottle of what is essentially what I just showed you at about 5,000% markup, because it's got a label on it that's specialized for that purpose. It's just the difference in the label and the packaging, the contents of it, it's just silliness, but it's your money. All right, so here we go. Much smaller radiators. You can see this is the, we'll bring them side by side, give you an idea. X62 and X52. So there's your size difference right there. I feel like a hunter. Got my ducks. I need to train my dog to retrieve my kills. Yeah, so you can see it's a significant difference to go from a 240 millimeter radiator to a 280. You can do the math pretty simple on that. If there's 240 millimeter fans, 140 and 140, that equals 280. If there's 220 millimeter fans, that's 240, right? 120 and 120. You with me on that? And in the case of the Threadripper build, it's going to be a 360 radiator. So what size and how many fans will that take? Who can tell me? Come on, class. Who can tell me? All right, now this one we could probably put in this way. Or I can put it in the other way. Since I did remove that rear fan, there's no reason I can't put it in this way. Let me just take a look at what that's going to look like if we turn it. Yeah, I think that's how I want to do it. So that means to put the fans on. Let me think about this for a minute. I get myself confused. All right, so the fans need to go on this side. I want to suck air in from the case and blow it out through the top. And I want the power cables coming out this side right here to get me nearest to the back. So let me put that down here. And we'll grab one of these fans. Remember where the brackets are, these supporting brackets. This is the side the air comes out. This side that has the rotation, the center that moves, that's the side that's sucking air in. That's on every fan I've ever seen, ever. And I want to position it so that it's going to be sucking air in from the bottom. The power cable is going to be coming up from the top, middle. So I'm rotating this to get this cable right here up through the center, like so. And then I am going to have to open the little package to get the screws out, since I already used them on the other Kraken. I'll have to be really careful when I start putting the parts back to the old Kraken, that this customer doesn't end up with spare screws he doesn't need, and I end up with no screws for something I will need in the future. So, got to be careful with that step. All right, do we want to use washers? Yes, we want to use washers. So I'm going to grab these long screws and a washer. Holy smokes, someone just made a big contribution here. What do we have? What did I miss? Oh, Ben DeCure has contributed again. Why is Ben not a moderator? Ben, I just want to say this. First of all, thank you. Second of all, when people want to donate $2, $5, $10, doing that through the super chat is ideal. If you're going to make a sizable donation, I just want you to keep in mind that YouTube's going to take about 30% of that, and I'll probably have to wait 60 days to get it. Versus using the donate button at tech-vets.com. That money I get instantly. PayPal only takes 3%, 2.9%. So I don't want to discourage any support, but I want you guys to be aware of where your money's going. And the other thing is, YouTube doesn't really give me a record of your transaction in the super chat, whereas in PayPal I have an email that I can put into a folder and always remember that. So again, if there's a way for you to undo that and submit it through TechVets, that would be great. If you leave it as it is, that's fine too. But just an FYI, for those of you considering donating anything over about 40, 50 bucks, please use the donation. I'll get more of the money if you do it and I get it quicker. So thank you to Ben DeCoeur. I hope I'm saying your name right, Ben. You can always, of course, give me the pronunciation in the chat here. Okay, anytime you guys are watching and you're confused why I'm over here, I'm looking at a screen, I'm looking at the chat comments. I'm so glad that YouTube is including the chat now in the archive of the video, so people who are watching it after the fact, it makes a lot more sense. Carrie, do you already have 40 donors? Yes, we're at the 40 donors. Well, not 40 donors, but we have enough donations that adds up to the equivalent of 40 $100 donors. There have been several that have donated twice as much, 3 times as much. Well, a couple that have donated twice as much, maybe a little bit more than that, 2.5 times. Anyway, so it's accommodated that fine. What I decided to do is, as far as the Threadripper build goes, if more donations come in to justify some ridiculous purchase like a Titan graphics card, the only other thing I haven't, probably the thing I would change on the Threadripper build is the power supply. It's the only part of the build that's not over the top. The power supply is still what we need and nothing more. If we go to a 1,000 watt power supply or a 1,200 watt Seasonic, they're pretty expensive. And I could always use a spare power supply, so it's not like that's a waste. I would be reluctant now to change the graphics card out to a Titan because the Volta is the best card they've got right now from AMD, and I want to keep it all AMD. So that was just me going, wow, wouldn't it be extreme, to spend $1,200 on a Titan card? The Titan card's not worth the money. It's just so rare, you very rarely see it. That's the only reason to have it, for this kind of a build. But, if the donations kept coming in like that, I probably would just swap it out just because I could. But we're okay with the donations now. So nobody needs to donate any more towards the Threadripper build. For those who did, thank you. And for those who continue to do so because you want your name on it, it'll get used. The money will get used on something. We're not at a point of ridiculous amounts of money where there's anything left over. There's still more things that I can purchase. In fact, there's a little surprise for you guys. I bought, and I don't know how this is going to work out, but EKWB makes little heat sinks for M.2 NVMe drives. It looks really cool. It looks like this armor plating. So I ordered 3 of those, and I hope they're going to fit okay. But that's a little added benefit to the build, something I've never done before, and it should keep those NVMEs nice and cool. Those were, am I saying Vega or Volta? I guess it's Vega. The AMD stuff has got me confused. How much was the big update? I don't know the price on it yet, to be honest. I don't have any parts yet, and there are 8 receipts, so I have to start adding everything up. We're got to be somewhere. We've got to be at around $4 grand. If we're not at $4 grand, we're really close. Maybe 3,800 to 4,200 total so far. And yeah, Catherine's corrected me. It's a Vega 64. Thank you, Catherine. Pay for a TechVets page up. You know what I was thinking is the part I want to put everybody's name on. I want to talk to my engraver and see if I can take that part out and send it to him and have him engrave everybody's name on it. I don't know if that's possible or not. It wouldn't happen till long after the build was done. And what I would do is I would ship it to him with everybody's name on the labels and let him just engrave right on top of that and then peel the labels off. I think that would be the way to do it. I don't know if he can do it, if he can only engrave certain materials. I know I can just order that piece, and that's another option. I can order that spare white piece that goes down the side of the case and just ship it to him directly and have him see if he can engrave it and just send him the list of names and then have him ship that to me and I can just swap it out. I think that would be really, really cool. I'm not going to engrave it by hand because you don't want it to look like a 5-year-old did it. I want a machine, you know, it's got the little head on it that moves like a printer. And then the fonts will all match and everything will look professional. Sterling says, I have a cry cut machine and could make a custom named decal for the case. Yeah, that'd be great, Sterling. If you want to come up with a name, maybe shoot some names off in the chat. You guys can fire off some names and see what sounds good. I don't, whatever you guys come up with is fine with me. Definitely be proud to put that on. I'll definitely use it. Has the build been given a name? At this point, no. It's just the crowd-funded, viewer-funded build for fun. Could call it Susan. I don't know. No idea. Okay. Ben says he can't refund it for the TechVets donation. I'll donate through TechVets from now on. Okay, thanks, Ben. I appreciate that. It's really the thought that means the world to me, honestly. I just want you to know that you know, the difference in the donation methods. And you can continue to donate that way all you want, but if you want me to receive more of it and to have it quicker, you definitely want to do it through the TechVets site or through the PayPal donation link on the TechVets site. Just so you know. But it's really handy for the $2 and $5 stuff that people are doing here when they're, you know, wanting to ask a question or they just want to show a little support. Then please continue to do it through Super Chat. It's just a lot easier that way, and then I can address it immediately. When you donate through TechVets, I won't see that during a live broadcast. I'll see that after the fact when I check my email. So depending on whether or not you want instant recognition through Super Chat, that's about the benefit that it has. My goal is to get this shipped tomorrow. I always ship via FedEx Ground. This is going to Southern California, so it's only going about 500, 600 miles, so I don't expect there to be any problems in shipping. I still ship and pack it the same exact way regardless. I do get a little nervous sometimes with the big heavy graphics cards when it's being shipped across the country. Seems like it's like a Murphy's Law thing where a lot of my customers are on the opposite side of the country. But every once in a while I get one in California, which is always good. I am seeing a little buffering happening here. All the updates installed, it's wanting to restart, but that can wait. Carrie, do I need to turn the fan around for the cable? Maybe. Let me see. Did I do it backwards? Yeah, I did it backwards, didn't I? It's got to go in this way. So this is going to be the back. There's this sort of mindset you've got to have when you are putting your fans on your cooler, especially if you're doing it the way I'm doing it, where everything's got to get flipped backwards. Because when I put this in, I'm going to flip it up this way, right? So this is the part that's going to be the front, and I need this going out the back. So good eye. Thank you for catching that. I decided to pull the 6 terabyte drive out of the Threadripper build. I thought there's no point in having it since the Threadripper isn't a basically with 3 500 gigabyte M.2 drives doing NVMe in RAID 0. That's going to be 1.5 terabytes. That's more than enough for a scratch drive for doing any editing. And then once the edit's complete, the video project and the final render can go out to the NAS. So we want to go this way. Remember, I want the cable going the shortest distance possible to the back. That's why I don't want to put it this way, and I don't want to put it that way. I want it pretty much as close to the middle as I can get it. And we're going to route it out these holes. One of these holes, well, I can't route it through there. I can route it. It looks like I'll have to route it through here. Let me think about this now. If I'm going to do it that way, then the cable needs to come out towards that side right there. That'll pretty much line that up with that hole. But what about this side? You know what? I think on this side I'll do the exact opposite. I should be able to hit that hole and that hole. I wish there was one in the middle, but these little holes here, those are for, you can't see them, sorry, but there's little holes up, and that's we're gonna hold the cover on. So I can't use those, or the cover won't go on. Keep spitting those ideas out for the build. Somebody's going to have one that sticks. We know it's crowdfunded. We know it's going to be a Threadripper. And we know it's, basically it's just a trophy build. That's all it is. It's a trophy build. It's a showcase. It's an example of extremes of what's easily possible, and anybody can do it. What holds us back is just the money for most of us. But barring that, the actual assembly of it will be really not much different from all the other builds you see me do. Still have a little bit of the sniffles, as you can tell. It's not nowhere near what it was. I'll tell you what, that flu kicked my butt. It kicked my butt good. In German, Holzripper sounds funny. Holzripper, there you go. EKWB custom water loop. You know, we're looking at spending Fundripper. That's pretty good. The Fundripper. The EKWB custom water loop. I'm not opposed to doing that, but it'll add about, I'm guessing about $800 to the build. I'm going with a liquid cooler anyway. We're going with the Enermax 360. So doing a custom cooler is more, it'll make the cooler I've got redundant, and it's something that will have to be decided either before the build or a year after the build, because otherwise I'm gonna have to pull that cooler off. I'll have absolutely no use for it and I won't be able to return it. So if I end up using, which I believe I am, the Enermax cooler, then that's the way it's gonna be for at least a year. I could revisit it a year later to do a custom loop, but I wouldn't want to spend that kind of money on a liquid cooler only to yank it in a few weeks and replace it. Are you excited? I'm very excited. It was the first time I've been excited about a build in many, many years. I'm really, really looking forward to getting my hands on the case. I'm looking forward to seeing 32 cores when I go to the task manager. Yeah. I'm very excited about it. This is my excited face. I see Fit Guy's contributed 10 euros. He says, great education here, learning everything from this channel. Thank you, Fit Guy. Carrie and Friends PC. It's a good name for it. Money pit. I don't think it's a money pit. A money pit usually implies you have to keep putting money into it over and over and over. I think once it's built, it'll run a very, very long time. It's an initial investment. That's the money pit part of it. But Irving says, I made the donation. Yes, Irving, I know you did. And thank you for that. I recognize your name. Yes, Irving has made a generous donation. As I mentioned, Colin Hilton, who's there, he made the Magewell quad port card that I'm using right now. And my intent, again, is to maximize that Magewell quad port card with 4 cameras. I'm going to use my my Stream Deck, which is this device right here. I don't have it hooked up right now. I have to completely reconfigure and reprogram this so I can switch. You know, I'll basically have a left camera, a right camera, a center camera, and a close-up camera. And then my goal then will be when I fire the machine up, since I'll be out in the sun, I won't be able to see the screen. I'm going to make your guys' monitor, all of your viewers, all of your monitors at home are going to become my monitor on the Threadripper first power up and OS install. Good idea, right? I think it's a neat idea. All right, let's get this other fan on here. Why does it take him so long to build a computer? I could have done that in 20 minutes, and he's just prattling on. Could we call it Thready? Thready. That's good. I like that. It takes a lot of time because of the screwdriver. How about Thready McThreadface? Well, of course, from the people who brought you Bodie McBoatface. That's already been done. How about we do our own thing? What happens after the Threadripper is built? Who's going to keep it? I'm going to keep it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's for the channel. It'll serve as a backup streamer. It'll serve as a backup editor. It may become the main editor, and the Ryzen 7 may become a main streamer. I really don't have any plans for it at all. I'm just doing it just because, just for no reason at all. See, this is what I'm talking about. When you're working as a tech, you've got to be able to answer all those questions for your client. You've got to be able to justify every penny that you're spending and ensure your client that you're looking out in their best interest. A build like this is just being done for the fun of doing it. It's not needed. It will serve no particular purpose, although I imagine it will find one. It's mostly to do it because we can. It's something to do. It's fun. It's giving the viewers a chance to contribute and participate and have their names added on the display of the case so they can, you know, feel like we're part of trying to create a community here. And so this whole concept that everything has to have a reason, that is always what my channel's been about. And this is a break from that, to just have fun. We're gonna do it because it's gonna be fun. That's the only reason why we're doing it. And let me be very clear on that. In fact, you might be a little surprised if I'm brave enough to take this thing outside to do the build. I think I'm gonna be stepping away from the Coke and opening up a Stella and just enjoying the build in a way that you've never seen me do before. So it's definitely just trying to do something different with an emphasis on fun. Would I donate it? The problem with donating this computer is it's overkill for any organization. Most charitable organizations need a computer to do things like send emails to donators and for events that they hold. They're doing business. They generally need a Core i5, 16 gigs, 8 gigs of RAM. An SSD is nice. They need something reliable. They need something fast. Unfortunately, you know, a machine of this caliber would be a complete waste to donate to them. They would be better off, instead of a $4,000 computer, you'd be better off giving them 4 $1,000 computers. That would actually benefit them. And then you get to things like raffles and things like that. At this point, I'm not rich. I'm not sitting here with a bunch of Threadrippers laying around. It's not like I won't use it. It will get used. If I thought it would benefit a charity, absolutely I would give it to a charity. However, like I said, it'd be better suited to build 4 new $1,000 computers than one $4,000 computer. I'm not aware of any charity that would actually use a machine like that for what it's capable of doing. It would be a waste. And again, we keep looking for this deeper meaning, this deeper cause. I need you to lighten up. I need you to just learn that we're just going to have fun with it. It doesn't have to serve any other purpose other than to entertain us and to educate us and to sit as a reminder in the background or maybe even in the foreground as to that accomplishment in that video to hopefully inspire others. My main concern, of course, is to make a video with it. That's my main concern. I want to make a great video with it. What do I do with it after that? I think it's going to be used in editing. We'll see what kind of difference it makes. It may, I'm getting a strong suspicion it's going to be that the Ryzen's going to end up being the streamer, and this one's going to be the editor, and if something happens to either one, they're both powerful enough to take the place of the other, so we don't have that huge video nightmare issue I had when I was trying to film the streaming computer using the other computer I had as a streamer, which just didn't have the power to do it, and that video's not even up anymore. It came out horribly, and I was really looking forward to the Ryzen 7. We were building it on Friday the 13th. I got the flu. My streamer didn't work. It was Friday the 13th. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to the build. I'm looking more forward to this build than any build I can remember building. That's how much I'm looking forward to this. We're just going to let loose. We're just going to have fun. And remember, because it isn't going to a charity, because it's not going to a customer, I'm not held accountable for it. That's what's making it so much fun for me, is it doesn't matter what I do. I'm the only one who's going to be affected by it. And it should make some great video content for you guys. And I hope it inspires current and new viewers to my channel. I hope it may even be an attraction to my channel and, you know, is appreciated by an audience I don't even have yet. That's the other part. You know, once it's all done, how's it gonna do? Is it gonna sit at 10,000 views, or is it gonna blow up to, you know, a couple 100,000 views relatively quick? You know, the biggest video I've got has 850,000 views, and it's taken 5 years to reach that number. The fastest growing video I have is the data recovery video from $300 Data Recovery. That's at 350,000 views, close to that in about a year. I think it's been about a year. That's no video I've got is tracked that quickly. Well, prior to that, I would say the Cosmos 2 build is really, really well right out of the gate. And then the Subaru engine rebuild video was right up there at the tops for a completely different audience for the most part. So if I have a new flagship video out of it, that'd be great. And if I don't, I'm still gonna have a good time. And it's still gonna be a rockin' machine. All right, can I get back to, can I do this now? Because this other guy's going, There he goes again, man. I'd had that cooler installed 7 times by now. Lighten up. All right, oh, it's a much better fitment, much, much better. I think the lesson on the X62 is finally starting to sink in. Gonna have to be very, very cautious over which cases I start recommending if that cooler is gonna be used. There it is, it's right up there. Sorry you guys aren't gonna get a good view of this. This is once again, it's a difficult thing to film. To try and get an overhead camera would require rigging quite a lot of material, which would not go over well in the kitchen. Let's try this again. I know this thing has mounting holes. Where are they? Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. There we go. When you put your radiator in, you want to put 1 screw on the front side corner and then the back side opposite corner, so you won't have to keep holding it. I'm just reusing the screws from the X62. They're the exact same screws. No sense opening up another package. We're using a total of 8. There's 2 on each end and then 4 that go in the middle. Not exactly sure why the middle is so strongly supported, but I would think 2 in the middle would have been fine. But we've got them, so we'll use them, whether or not they're actually structurally necessary or not. Okay, last one. Now I'm just going to make sure all these are tight. I just want to snug them up. You don't want to over tighten them. It's very easy to strip these out, and then you're not going to be happy. That's it. Okay, so if you're curious, let's see if I can flip this down so you can see what I've just done. So the case has room for a larger radiator. Obviously that's what these holes are for, these long elongated holes and the round holes. These rest of these are just vent holes. You see where the indentations are? That's where you're supposed to line up your cooler. And you'll see they go all the way over what is the drive trays for the front, and that's where the interference was occurring. And this radiator doesn't go anywhere near as far. And the larger radiator obviously uses the holes that are further out towards the outside of the case. And that's your main difference between your your 280 millimeter radiator and your 240. Look at that, beautiful. Now we can put the water block back on, and I think all the connectors there are the same. We've got the main connector that powers the pump and the fans, and then the USB cable, which is what the NZXT cam software is going to use to monitor your fan and pump RPM and temperatures all through controlled. That's how the software gets information, is through the USB. So if you don't want to use that software, you don't have to hook up that cable. And we're going to put this on so the NZXT logo is right side up. That's why I'm wrapping the cables around like that. The other problem that you can potentially have with the NZXT cooler is the fact that these cables come out at the side, and on the Corsair cooler, the cables go right into the top. And that can interfere with installation of RAM. I was just kind of looking at that. It's going to be close. If he wants to add more RAM, it's going to be tight, but I think he's going to be able to do it. Depends on the height of the RAM. Like this Corsair RAM we've got in there now, it's just a little too tall. But I think if he really wanted to, he could make it work. Otherwise, you'd want to go to a different manufacturer's cooler for that reason. And again, this is the kind of stuff, PC Part Picker doesn't really help you with stuff like this. It'll say, yeah, it fits. It'll fit that board, and it does. They're not lying, but there might be some payoff, some sacrifice. So what'll probably happen if he wants to add RAM is, at the very least, he'll have to remove these thumb screws and pull this water block off, then add his RAM, and then put the water block back on to see that he's going to put pressure on the RAM. The question is, will it be too much or not? So if he's very careful with it, I think he'll be okay. I don't think he's going to be adding RAM for quite some time. And of course, he could change these modules out to just bigger modules and still stay with 2. It's not like he's going to get any speed performance difference. You know what I'm saying? By going with, let's say, 4 8s instead of 2 16s, you can end up with the same amount. You're still going to be in dual channel. So you could always do that with less effort, but a little bit more expense, obviously. This is also something you're going to want to do with the case laying flat versus me trying to do it for the camera. Let gravity assist you. It's always tough to get these started. Your cooler is always going to be sort of spring loaded, if you will, to the base of the CPU, because we want that to be a nice tight fit. I don't want to tighten them all the way down just yet. I just want to get them all started. You always want to do opposite corners. This is the only thing that matters that you do opposite corners on. And it's the same reason when they put tires on a car, you never tighten the bolts around in a circle, because you could warp the rim, and then your car won't steer straight. I might have tightened it down a little too much. Ow. Oh, it doesn't want to go in there. Come on, why are you fighting? There it goes. There it goes. We want that post to go, there's a, on the base of this, let's see if I can show you a little closer on this one. On the base of the water block, you'll see right here, there's a place for the screw to go either towards the bottom or towards the top, right? Towards the center or towards the edge. We want these screws for this socket, which is socket 1151. We want that towards the center. Well, here's a reason I don't like the screwdriver. The lid just came off in my hand. All right, so what's happened, what I'm struggling with here is the, on the back side, let me just spin this around and you can see. When I said ow earlier, this piece popped out that holds the post into the bracket, and now it's just rotating. I hope I didn't break it, but if I did, I've got spares. Got a whole nother cooler I can use for parts. I think it slides out, but I don't know. Let's just take it out and take a look at it. It's supposed to be in a little track. It appears to have come out of its track. And I don't know if it'll go back in without taking the whole bracket off, or if I broke it. Yep, I'm gonna take the whole thing off because I can't see what's going on there. You know what? I think I'm tired of this screwdriver. I was gonna build it, but I'm starting to lose my patience with it. Sometimes the tools you use can determine whether or not a job is difficult or easy, as just demonstrated. Oh. Okay. Let's just cover that back up for now so I don't get anything on it. Let's spin this back around. Let's take a look at this support bracket and see what happened. Let's see what happened. Oh, I can't take it out until I take the standoffs off. So I gotta take the standoffs off. And they're in there tight. I'm just gonna drop everything today. Thank goodness there's that back plate on there. Now when I put these in, I just put them in as tight as I can turn them with my hands. It's because I bolted down the water block on it that it tightened them down that tight. You don't have to put them in that tight. That'll just occur naturally as you when you put your water block on. So that's going to be the fun one to get off because it just wants to spin now. rascal. I think I got it. Never seen that piece come off before. All right, let's take a look here and see what's going on. So this little piece fits in. Remember I was telling you how there's two screws. You can either go to the outside or you can go towards the center. And it just popped out of there. I don't see anything damaged. It's just apparently popped right out. I guess this is going to go in here. Somehow. Oh, there it is. Snapped right in. Good. So it just popped out. It's good to know those pop in and pop out. I didn't know that. Learn something new from when you make mistakes, that is when you learn. The people who won't build because they're afraid they're going to make a mistake, that's the whole point of building. If you don't make any mistakes, all you do is verify what you thought you knew. When you make mistakes, you grow as a person. Sometimes the mistakes can cost you a little bit of money, but it's not like you're going to destroy an entire $2,000 computer. Even if you were to destroy your motherboard, it's a $100 lesson, generally $150 lesson, if you can't RMA it. It's an inconvenience that you have to postpone the completion of your build. But it's not like going to school for 6 months for a semester in college and spending $3,000 for an education that may or may not stick with you. When you make mistakes, they stay with those lessons, they stay with you forever. And they're invaluable, and they're not something to be upset about when they happen. There's something that you just very calmly go, okay, how do I resolve this? And then you resolve it and you look back on it and you can say, I'm glad it happened. You may not be glad it happened, but at least you can look back on it with this new experience you have now that you would not have had any other way at any cost. And like I said, those are the lessons that stay. The School of Hard Knocks is a really good school. It can be expensive, but it's a good school. All right, so let me just put this back plate back on now. There we go. And we're going to put the standoffs back in. There's no top or bottom to these standoffs. They're all the same on both sides, which makes life a little easier. If you were using socket 2011, different story. But then if you were using socket 2011, you wouldn't need the back plate. It would already be part of the motherboard. And same with that AMD AM4 socket as well. It's already got the back plate. The TR4 socket, I really don't know anything about it. I guess it's got a back plate. I don't know. We'll find out soon enough. Hopefully next week. Okay, final standoff. So remember now, I'm just tightening these down with my fingers. Doesn't have to be any tighter than that. I can't turn them anymore with my fingers. It starts to hurt your fingers. It's tight enough. Now we're going to put the water pump or the water block back on. Oh, a little bridge protector came off the card there. Okay, now let's do this again. Inside, lining up the standoffs with the holes towards the center. I have to let it go to grab my screwdriver. That's where it helps to have an assistant. I'm going to start with the one that gave me trouble. We're going to start there. Get the troublemaker out of the way. Done. Do the opposite corner next. Lift these pipes up out of the way so I can get down in there. Good. Good. All right. Now I'll go back to this beast. Okay, here we go. We can start tightening it down. Just go until the screw stops. That's it. Once you bottom out, don't take it any further. This is the last one right down here. Always do opposite corners. Sometimes when you tighten the opposite side, then the opposite side could loosen, so just go once more around. Make sure those are bottomed out. Don't try and get them twisted any further than that. You will bust the top off the standoff. Don't use an electric screwdriver to tighten those on. I've demonstrated why that's a bad idea on at least 2 occasions. I think I've learned it now. I think that lesson is staying with me now. There's our USB cable up there we can hook back up. Let's see if I can just get it. Trapped it back there. Come on. Nope, that's not the one I want. Where is it? There it is. Helps if I'm pulling on the right cable. Okay, so that's our USB cable, and that's going to just go right down here. We already routed it. And then we have the 2 fan cables coming out right here, which I'll have to put some extensions on. This is the pump header, which we're going to plug our fans in. Oh, I won't need the fan extensions, will I? You start at the middle of the cable, right? There's a place for up to 4 fans, and you put them in the order where the connector at the end is the last one. So we're not going to use the... See, depending on how you look at this cable, you could say those are the first 2. But we're at the end of the cable, so these are considered the last 2. And if you look inside, they all have 3 pins, except for the very first one, which has 4 pins. That's the one that's monitoring your RPMs more accurately. So it's important that you use that first connector. After that, it really doesn't matter, except the well, I don't think the software knows. Actually, I think it only knows the difference between that one and the other 3. But if you want to follow the directions, they advise you to use those 2 connectors first. And the 2 connectors at the end, that would be if you wanted to add 2 more fans. So you'd have 2 fans on each side of the radiator, all blowing air in the same direction. And then we can feed this back out to the pump. Ooh, it's not reaching. How's that possible? It's not reaching. You see, I've got this being fed off this power cable right here. So I'm going to take the power cable and disconnect it. It's just too far of a run to go to that particular SATA header. I'll just put it on this one instead. How you like me now? Let's just go right. Actually, I can probably go to that one. How about that? How about that? Cash me outside. Okay. No, I'm still hung up on something. What am I being hung up on? Let's take that USB cable back off. Let's route this behind. Like this. Ah, much better. Now let's plug that in. Like so. There we go. And we'll run this one behind too. And finally, there's a big sticker right here, and it says, connect all cables before turning on. You think? Who made that necessary? Somebody did. We're done. I still have to cable management, and I still have to power it up. Oh, no, I didn't hook my power back up to my, I'm not done. Psych. I gotta push these back in, right? There we go. And I gotta give, not only do I have to push the memory card reader back in, which should fit now without any problems. Swear to God, if you make me look like an idiot. Come on, don't make me look like an idiot. It's tight. It's still tight. Oh, we're fine. It's fine. And then I gotta put the SATA power connector back onto the card reader. That's going to make all 4 of those USB cables work because it's a powered USB 3.0 hub, which is really cool. I can't say enough good things about these AFT card readers. I know you can buy a card reader for 10 bucks, and this is a $65 card reader. But when you're replacing yours and you're annoyed by how the light never turns off, you're going to be jealous of mine. And you will have wished you spent the 65 bucks. That's what I think. I think that tightened up, I can't tell. Yeah, it doesn't have to be super tight. That looks good. That's flush. That's the way the case is designed. It's designed that this sinks in a little bit right here. That's the way Corsair intended it to look. Well, since it's only the 2 bottom screws in the front, then I can't access the 2 bottom screws on the front, so I have to go to the 2 bottom screws in the back. But I can't do the 2 bottom screws in the back, so it's not symmetrical. It's driving my OCD crazy. It's gonna hold it and secure it just fine though. So we're good. I think we could fire it up right now and see if she works. What do you think? Let me try, as an experiment to Threadripper build, let me try using your monitors for a minute as my test. Would you mind? Let me get rid of this. I turned the noise suppression off and I'm just using the noise gate right now, so if you're getting a lot more hiss, that's why. You can let me know in the chat which way you preferred it. I had changed it when we had the YouTube issues earlier. I forgot to mention, finding the noise suppression isn't necessarily a good thing, but the gate is what I'm really liking. Okay, here we go. So this is possible because of Colin. unless it doesn't work. In which case, it's not Colin's fault, it's my fault for not knowing what I'm doing. So let's give this a shot. Let's go, we'll go into port number 4. Port number 4. And then we'll bring it around to the back here. Like so. I need power. Gotta get a power cable. Ah, here's one. Okay. Okay. Switch is off on the back of the power supply. Plug that in there. And if I steal my mouse and keyboard from the streamer, then I won't be able to switch camera inputs, so I better go grab a different keyboard and mouse. I'll grab the CM Storm gaming keyboard. How about that? How about that? I don't know why I'm saying that today. Okay, and I still need a mouse, don't I? Let me move this over here so I don't confuse everything. I need a mouse. Look at me all prepared. Not. All right. Let's throw a wireless mouse on here. Put it right up here. Oh heck, you know what? Let's plug it into the card reader up front and we could test those USB ports to make sure they work, right? Just pick a random one. That shouldn't matter. Okay, so you are going to be my monitor. Your monitors at home are going to be my monitor. Literally, I have no monitor plugged into this. This is going right into the capture card. So let's see how I'm going to do this. I've never done this before. Let's see, we want input number 4. Okay, so you should still be able to hear me. If anything, I could probably see if I can just put myself on the screen. Okay, all right. We ready? This capture card's pretty cool, right? Okay. All right, you're my monitor. I have to hit the switch on the back of the power supply. Just checking to see if you're paying attention, because I wasn't. Here we go. It's quiet. Oh, why aren't my CPU fans turning? I mean, not my CPU fan, my cooling, my water cooler fans aren't turning. Did I not? I plugged them in. Wow, it booted in the Windows quick. What is happening with my fans? They are plugged in. Yes. They are. I've got SATA power. Why aren't they turning? Oh, they just didn't need to turn. They're turning now. Dead silent. And that's why I went with the Noctuas, right? They're just known for that. Mouse works. That means the USB ports on the card reader are working. Just to be thorough, I'm going to go ahead and move the mouse to another USB port on the card reader. Make sure the mouse still works. I'm going to use the next USB port on the card reader. Make sure the mouse still works. That's 3. Go to the one I haven't tested yet. Let's make sure that still works. It does. Let's go to the 2 USB ports on the front of the case. Let's make sure that those work. These are things before you deliver to a customer. If you don't check it, it'll come back to bite you on the butt. Whatever it is you don't check, that's the thing that'll bite you on the butt. Yeah, that's working. And then let's go to the final number 6 USB on the front. Let's make sure that that works. Works. Awesome. Excellent. Everything's good. Drive opens. Yeah, you can see the drive opens. I don't know why it's not closing. Let's do it again. Usually just give it a little nudge. And that's working okay. I'm going to hit the power button. Let's see how fast it shuts down. Here we go. Huh. Well, it's still on though. There it goes. Now it's off. All right, we're going to power it up. You ready for your stopwatches? Remember, this is everything loaded. This is Windows loading, Malwarebytes is loading, TeamViewer is loading. Here we go. 4, get ready to start your stopwatch or look at your clock on your screen. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, click. Here we go. Let's see how fast it boots. Somebody I hope in the audience is gonna keep track of the time. We do have this sort of weight on the UEFI. I might be able to go in the BIOS and tweak that a little bit. XMP is turned on, for those who are asking. Almost there, almost there. Still loading. Wait for the little circle to go away around the cursor. I'm still waiting for the TeamViewer actually to go. Actually, TeamViewer's already come up. Still loading something on the system tray. It's still bringing stuff. I think, well, TeamViewer should give us an error since we're not on the network. It's gonna, well, that's not an accurate assessment because TeamViewer is going to try a few times. Logan says he got 24 seconds. Heavy Sonic Jeffrey says less than 20. 30 seconds overall, 29 seconds, 25 seconds, 34 seconds. I think we can tweak it a little bit in the BIOS so that that initial screen won't stay up as long. Put it on fast boot. Even ultra fast boot would probably make a difference there. It's quick. It is quick. And so that's what I mean when I say I'm using your monitor. You see, I have no monitor hooked into this. This is going right into the capture card, and I'm looking at the video feed. I'm seeing the same thing you are seeing. I thought in my head it should work, and I thought I could put myself up in the corner like I have. I guess it's this way. And it all worked like I thought it would. So the Threadripper build is getting even more exciting now, isn't it? I think so. So now what I have to do is I'm going to do the cable management. I'm not going to do that on camera because it's lame and it's just something that's different with every build. The cable management on that H700i. If you're worried about your cable management skills, get the H700i and it does it for you. It's just, you know, it provides you all these channels and you just put your cable. I mean, I'm so blown away by this case. I didn't know what I was ordering. I looked at it and I said, it's pretty. And then I thought, 2 days after I ordered it, I think I ordered it Friday night, and then Sunday, yesterday, I think I'll watch a review on it. I like to watch Gamers Nexus. I really like, I think the guy's name's Steve. He's got really long black hair. He looks like he belongs in a rock band. I really like that guy. I don't see him doing a lot of the unnecessary nonsense that the other tech enthusiast channels do. He seems a bit more practical, but that's just my opinion. That's a lot of people ask me who I watch. When it comes to watching reviews, if that guy, if Gamers Nexus has a review over, if there's many choices to pick from, I choose him. And then I would choose Paul's Hardware after that. And then probably Jay's 2 cents and Linus in that order. Linus's stuff, I like Linus. He seems like a great guy. It just feels, a lot of what he does is very impractical. A lot of stuff Jay's does too. Jay's 2 cents is, to me, it's impractical as a tech. As a hobbyist or an enthusiast, I certainly understand the draw and the audience that they get. And it's great to be in such company, to be honest. It's not my goal to offend anybody or to create any sort of controversy or between any of us, because we all share a very common passion together, and how we approach it is at different angles. And of course, you just watch the ones that appeal to you and watch them all. Why not? So anyway, I think that's going to wrap up today's build. I just, like I said, I want to get the cable management done. Maybe when it's all wrapped up, I'll do a quick rotation on the table just to show you before and after. And then it gets boxed up so I can ship it out tomorrow in the hopes that Bob will get it by Friday, maybe even by Thursday. I know Bob's going to be excited to get it, and he should be very, very happy with it. I don't know if you can tell if I take my microphone off and stick it inside the system. The other thing I'm going to do, I'll run Prime 95 on it for about an hour, and we're going to watch the temps on the CPU, make sure that those temps ideally stay, I want to see 73, 74 and below. This Ryzen system blew me away. You know, that stock fan on the Ryzen 7, I ran Prime 95 on that for like 20, 30 minutes. I don't think it broke 62 ever. I tried. I even, while it was running Prime 95 on all, so it's got the 8 cores and the 8 threads, so it looks like 16 cores, slammed at 100%. Then I opened a web browser and I started doing other stuff, and the machine acted like it wasn't doing anything. I was like, all right, what do you want to do next? There was a slight hesitation, but it wasn't like my old Core i7 965. That thing will just crank and crank and crank, and you click on the browser and you see little things circling and it's working. It's like, I'm getting it, I'm getting it, I'm getting it. That's Ryzen, it just flies through it. Now, I do know the latest generation of Intel Core i7 chips do better than these Ryzen chips, but now the second generation of Ryzen chips have come out and they're doing even better. So it still kind of comes down to what you're using the chip for. Intel's better in some types of usage. AMD's better in other types of usage. PC World's Gordon Ma-Ung just did a video about it. If you go to PCWorld.com, he did a lengthy video with a bunch of different testing, a bunch of different games, frame rates, and all this other stuff, and shows you the difference between the two chips. And he makes the kind of videos that I want to make. Gordon's a cool guy. I was in San Francisco and I just happened to stop by the offices there, and at the time he was Maximum PC, and I got to meet him face to face. We'd been talking in email and such, and he's exactly in person just the way he is on camera. He's a really neat guy. So anytime I see videos from Gordon, who's now over at PCWorld.com, you should check out his videos. They're very entertaining and they contain good, practical information. And with that, I think that's going to wrap up today's build. Thanks to everybody for joining me. Thanks for your contributions and support. And let's shoot for April 30th on the Threadripper build. I'm assuming everything I've ordered will arrive this week. That's the only thing that'll delay it. As we approach, once I have everything in stock, I'll make a short video to let everybody know the day and time in the hopes of getting the largest audience possible. When I do these off the cuff last minute like today, a lot of people are like, oh darn, I missed it, I didn't know. Well, I didn't know I was going to be filming either. So that's how that happens. Let me go ahead and turn this back off and let me switch back to full screen. I forgot I got to use the right mouse though. Go back full screen here. There we go. Turn off cam 4. Good. All right, everything's working exactly like it should. This Magewell card, so far so good. So Threadripper will be using all 4 ports. I'll have a camera on the left, camera on the right, a camera in the middle, and a camera close up. And then when we do the power on, I'll take the HDMI cable out of the close-up camera, plug it directly into the computer, power it up, and use your screens as my monitor. Looking forward to that. And again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of the channel. I really appreciate everything, and I'm really looking forward so much to this build. I hope you are too. Until next time, bye for now.